At the exact center of the Ring of Brodgar, a handclap does not simply fade. Aaron Watson reports that its reflections return together about 1/3 of a second later, surrounding the listener with one coherent echo. Walk toward the stones, and that answer breaks apart, cross beyond the circle, and it is lost. This occurs within an approximately 100-meter circle, enclosed by a rock-cut ditch. Watson suggests that perhaps 60 stones originally stood here, and says fewer than half remain. UNESCO records 36 surviving stones. That leaves the competing figure of 27 without an explained counting convention. The discrepancy is a warning. Surviving stones, stumps, and buried sockets cannot be silently treated as one count. An outer bank has vanished, and the original architecture needed for any acoustic reconstruction is unresolved. Brodgar is one element in the Heart of Neolithic Orkney, alongside the stones of Stennis, Maeshowe, and Skara Brae. UNESCO places them within a topographic bowl of linked ridgelines, joining ceremonial, funerary, and domestic places into a wider landscape. Its broad cultural tradition flourished around 3000 to 2000 BC. Yet the 2008 excavation summary says Brodgar's own age remained largely assumed from other sites. A range such as 2500 to 2000 BC is convention, not a secure construction date. During the 3rd millennium BC, cutting Brodgar's ditch removed an estimated 4,700 cubic meters, about 11,000 tons of rock. Even that huge labor did not produce a geometrically tidy trace. The northern outline bulges and contracts. Excavator Colin Richards proposed that the ditch was made in segments, perhaps by different groups over years or generations. That possibility complicates any picture of a single blueprint carried out at once. Attempts to date that work have repeatedly met the monument itself. In 1973, waterlogging stopped excavation in the northern ditch, and the available methods did not settle its age. In 1998, Watson and David Keating investigated a different question. Handclaps and voices gave clear echoes in calm weather. Percussion worked better in poor conditions. The response was strongest at the center and diffused toward the edge. Their 1999 antiquity study supplied controlled work at other monuments, but no Brodgar frequency measurement. Then, in 2008, a 4-week excavation led by Jane Downs and Richards exposed a northern ditch section 3.5 meters deep and 7.5 meters wide. Tomography confirmed 19 stone sockets at roughly 3-meter intervals in one surveyed arc. It looked precise until the survey continued. Gaps increased toward the north and northwest. Local regularity had been discovered, not circle-wide uniformity, and neither the original stone total nor a complete acoustic layout followed from it. The evidence therefore supports 3 different claims at 3 different strengths. Brodgar has a documented modern, center-focused echo. Prehistoric visitors could have encountered a positional effect, although missing architecture and variable weather leave no secure reconstruction of what they heard. But the narrowest claim, that builders spaced the stones to enhance selected frequencies for ceremonies, remains unproved. No Brodgar-specific instrumental result establishes a preferred band, and a modern effect cannot identify an ancient purpose. Purpose is especially difficult, because Richards offers another interpretation of construction. Prestige and competition in raising individual stones may have mattered more than using a completed temple. A methodological warning comes from the Stonehenge sound interference debate. Blindfolded participants circling 2 flutes drew perceived sources that sometimes resembled columns, but Nadia Drake argued that connecting those drawings to Neolithic intention required unsupported leaps and lacked rigorous testing and controls. An acoustic effect can be repeatable without becoming testimony from its builders. None of this reduces Brodgar's importance. UNESCO treats the Heart of Neolithic Orkney as exceptional evidence for prehistoric beliefs, social structures, material standards, and monumental architecture. Formal protection at Brodgar includes the ring, ditch, burial mounds, the comet stone setting, and buried remains. Conservation now belongs to the story, too. Visitor footfall and coastal erosion threaten the wider property, while paths, drainage, surveys, and rabbit-proof mesh protect vulnerable ground. The comparisons clarify what can and cannot be claimed. At Archaeoacoustics, researchers mapped a 2-meter grid, played roughly 100 decibel pink noise, measured it with an omnidirectional microphone and spectrum analyzer, and checked it against open ground. The stones substantially changed sound distribution, controlled evidence that an open circle can shape hearing, not proof of Brodgar's intention. Campster Round belongs to another acoustic category. Its enclosed chamber reflected sound, its cairn filtered higher frequencies, and a 110 model gave a full-scale equivalent response around 4 to 6 Hz. Transferring that chamber resonance to open Brodgar would turn comparison into substitution. The wider Orkney landscape is the final comparison. Brodgar stood among mounds, standing stones, tombs, settlements, locks, and visually connected ridgelines. An acoustic interpretation has to remain subordinate to that network. The evidence does not establish ceremony as the echo's purpose. At the center, Watson's 1/3 second answer is still the clearest fact. A sound arrives from the circle, then fades when the listener leaves. The echo is real. The intention is the part the stones do not return. If you liked what you watched, please like and subscribe. We post interesting and crazy stories from throughout history every Wednesday and Saturday. Yesterday's craziness, because yesterday was crazy too.